When I wake up, you're always on my mind. When I wake up, you're always on my mind. When I wake up, you're always on my mind. When I wake up, you're always on my mind. When I wake up, you're always on my mind. When I wake up, you're always on my mind.
Hello, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Excuse me. One. All right, this is the really raw and uncut thing on YouTube that I'm doing. This is making of the track, and this is my track titled "On My Mind," and this is on the label Music Department. And I kind of have a funny story about this track, really, and just how well, not this track, but just this sound that I'm doing a lot right now of releases that are happening and that you're probably going to hear quite a bit in the near future. um I made a joke on some blogs saying that I was making a genre of West Coast disco, and really because I'm using like the synthesizers that Dr. Dre's using and the Roger Troutman synthesizer, and people are even saying like it's a Daft Punk sound. But really, it's a thing that's come. It's like the Ohio players type thing, a Midwest, I guess, sound funk sound influence, right? So I've kind of made the joke of saying that I'm making a house music genre called West Coast disco because of the certain kits that I'm using, and using like an M1 piano just to top it off. But this is house that I'm making. When you start putting labels on stuff, they become just these trends, and seems that some people get big off these trends. But I just thought it'd be a funny story to say that I'm making a genre called West Coast disco, but it is house. Um, this track was also mastered by Tom Frampton. As usual, I always like using him because he does a great job and can always just find some problem within a mix that I'm doing. So this is just the print of the radio mix, and me using a VCA, SSL summing. I have like 8 channels and whatnot. But let's kind of move into here, and we'll pull up just the analog settings. And this is just typical on the Pultec, what I do. Uh, we're we're at 400 kilohertz, and raising things up 2 dB within channel 1 and 2, which is this everything mono. That's like the snare claps and stuff like that, and then cutting it at 2 to just bounce back up. So it's like really, I'm kind of just subtractively giving it flavor and a nice little harmonic distortion, probably. Let's see how I'm pushing the channel. I won't. This probably help if I did this. And oh yeah, no. What's happening now? Oh, it's because of that. So I'm not really distorting any channels as I see and you could probably see like up here that I'm not doing that. Maybe almost tickling things in general up here. I really like using the word in general, almost like these and then really. Okay, forget it. So let's start with the print here as usual. Just doing this. Excuse me. Blocking off the mid side stuff. You can, let's mute this just so we're not double doing things. You can even kind of bleh. What is going on? It's like I just had everything working properly. That's why. So yeah, I did this on the printed mix here, Just giving it a little more oomph. The Safara, giving it the 3D sound. Oxford Inflator. And the interesting, this is giving it more like harmonics and stuff. Just a little more kick and oomph. Right. I really like using the Magma now, as you've been seeing in all the videos, because I made this in 2002. I'm now, using some vintage shape, giving it a little drive, turning down the bias. Some harmonics. The harmonics are left and the low emphasis is left, I think. The high emphasis is, I think, at the same. The IPs are at 30 because it just sounds better there. It's like it has more high end being there. And then we're just using the bass room to kind of correct things. You can even like totally hear just how everything is like almost all over the place with the frequencies, and this is like putting everything back together. And then it looks like I'm using the Endless Smiler within parts of the track, I think within the breakdown. Now I'm using the Toolroom Infinite plugin, which I think is great. People say like this plugin's like a big cheat plugin because it's just like a one knob thing. And sure, it sure can be, but when you're wanting to finish a track at a good speed, it's good to use a thing that has one knob and just does it in one try. Not much creative control, but I do find it to be a great plugin. Yeah. So we'll mute this and we will. Oh, Jesus. We'll mute this. Just keep that for how it is. I don't know why, but whatever. We'll mute this and we'll go back to this. And so the kick is pretty much just using the FabFilter EQ. I think I probably just got the FabFilter at this time, which is why I'm kind of like using the EQ. And I probably made some printing stuff. I printed some stuff out probably so that the CPU could work better, because I do use another like saturator plugin with the kick. Actually, I don't think so, because here I haven't used this plugin for a while, and this is kind of like what they used for mastering back in the day with vinyl and stuff, and it really can tone out sound with your kicks. And I definitely would plan on using this plugin again. So I find it kind of cool coming back to this project and checking out old plugins that I used before and that I should probably be using again. I really have too many toys. Then we're on to the clap. Just giving it more body with 200 hertz and just giving it more presence in this area. I mean, more presence here, right? But this is just with the mids, just giving it more body again. And then we're using the compressor LA2A to give it more tail. And the trim is just used for automation within the middle of the track. And here. It looks like I'm doing nothing, but I'm pretty sure that I had done stuff. Yeah, you can you can see that I shaved off some low, because I'm sure there was like some low end garbage that was there that it wasn't necessary, and I shaved off some other stuff. But more tail end release with the claps, and I'm probably the same here. Them in the hi hats, shaving out some garbage that probably is not needed, and doing some more subtractive EQing, along with giving it a stereo, more of a stereo image, with panning it at 30. All this stuff is like at mono, like the claps. Well, not really, but it's getting panned, but it is mono in there, so maybe it is kind of giving its own image. Probably not. And then subtractive EQ on the cymbals. Shakers, probably more subtractive EQ. Uh-oh. We'll turn this back on again. Well, hello there. So where was I? Yeah, the shakers, again, probably some subtractive EQ. See there, and just mucking out some garbage. It looks like I kind of gave it a little bit of a hump. Excuse me, on those low mids. Image again, no more image. The rides, cutting stuff out, garbage not needed and stuff. Um, and the typical loops that I like to use. Right. And I find like the drums that I'm doing are like a call and response type drums, but if I would have made this track now, I probably would make these call and response uh, better on the mix. So you can't really hear them that much, but it is there. Yeah, and it's like doing a little call and response with the snare there, and I probably would do a way better job with a call and response. But you know what? A label like this, and I'm happy about it. And it's coming on music department label from Russia, and yeah, you could pre-order, and I'll just kind of say all that stuff later on. But then we go back into the aux of the drums and just doing like the usual of just cutting off like certain low end that isn't there and stuff like that. And it looks like the API is giving us some like artifacts probably. So like, let's see if I bypass it and it stops. No, it's not. Maybe this, I don't know what that's from, but it's either maybe it's from the summing mixer or something, but there's something there. Um, Not sure what it's from and why it's doing it, but it's there. So let's move on to the bass, which is the one pumper. This gives off an artifact of like a pumping sound, and I found that out later on when mixing with my monitor ST, and all of a sudden it's like because I'm turning down the SSL and kind of bumping more things within the system to give it more like what did they say gain staging stuff, to just improve the sound. I start hearing this pumping, and that's what the one knob's doing. And now I've switched over to the LFO. You know, that's one reason why I stopped using the one knob. I mean, it is good, but it's just I don't like. And also it's just that the way that it does the side chaining, I don't like how it. I didn't really dig how it did it before. I remember I used like a compressor before. The way you should really do it is it sounds better with a compressor, I would think, but whatever. It works for what I'm doing, and it sounds great. It's the kicks breathing with it, and that's why it's there to make the kick breathe. But let's move on to the EQ and just, pricking things up at 58 hertz and pulling things out. This is probably like the kick drum. So every time the kick hits, it turns down in this frequency. If I can get things playing. Oh, Christ. Excuse me. And you can see right there, it's blocking out that frequency of the kick whenever it goes in, so like it has its time to breathe. Then we move on to more saturation with the Abbey Road kind of like vinyl pressing thing. And then we have the filter, which is like kind of used probably at the start of the track and around like breakdowns. Yeah. And then it's raising up and doing some cool stuff. Then we have like the reverse bass. No, I think this is just a wasted track that shouldn't be there. This is probably like a print. Here's a reverse bass and just used once, so I just kind of like copied and pasted and then took a piece, turned it around, put a room on it, and it's just like it builds tension within the spot of the track. You can even kind of hear it. We should do this. There we go. Yeah. And then we move on to like the keys. I definitely like the keys in this, and I think this is like Serum. Again, using the pumper. And really like that pumper's really blocking out a lot of those attacks of the key. I think I probably should have like took it off at this breakdown, but I always seem to keep the side chaining on because I just think it's kind of cool to have it on. Yeah, and then the EQ, panning out the lows that aren't needed there because there was some low end garbage, and really just making it more prominent at the 1 kilohertz region or so, and boost kind of giving the body the 200 hertz and taking other frequencies out that are just muddy, I guess. The reason the plug child, some compression within the plug child. Then we have the Oral Exciter, which is really toning things out.
When I wake up,
It's very like dark without it versus you had this. It's like all of a sudden it's come out of the speaker. The Oral Exciter is a very like great arsenal to have within plugins. It's a great weapon to brighten things up. Brighten it up. It's a great thing to brighten things up, especially when you have something that's just so dull and you don't know where to turn to, and then you don't want to push up to EQ too much. I feel like 3 is really the magic number when you're playing with like EQ and other things. Yeah, it's so dead. Excuse me, without that plugin, it's quite amazing, and I just keep using it. I'd love if Universal Audio made one, because then I would start using it and ditch this one so that there'd be more processing power. But it's not a big deal. I still enjoy it. No punter intended or whatever. But then we're using like the one knob again for like automation, as you see here, like in the breakdown to create tension, and piano kind of like here just to give it like a change.
when I wake up, you're always on my mind. When I wake up,
Right, and then on to like just I think I probably did some work to this too, why it's just like I'm doing subtracting the EQ. Yeah, I probably did some work to this, and probably too much work to it, and then printed it because like there's this is madness for how many plugins there are. Um, and then it looks like I don't know if I've turned down the gain and all of a sudden bring like the output up more. Probably not. Sometimes I do that and kind of like harmonically distort things in within the plugin, and it's kind of pleasing. But the moves I made here on the piano is really 1.5 kilohertz at 4 dB boost and 12K at 2 dB boost. And it's just kind of like, I don't think I'm doing any more like bridges, um, not bell curves. And then we're using the compressor, the Fairchild. I like this compressor because it just has a great tone to it. I use it a lot, and it's because it's got the tubes in it. Obviously, an emulation. Then we're using the Oriel Exciter on the piano again. You can check it. It just makes it sound like a real piano. It brings it back. It brings it back to life. It's just like it's so dead without it. Oriel Exciter was great, and then the good old West Coast like sound. This is coming up. And really just sidechaining the shit out of it. Subtractive EQ a little bit and raising things up, kind of like in the 10K region, just some more high end, and using the good old 1176. It just sounds great. It helps with the tone. Strings really not doing anything crazy, but giving it some side chain and shaving some stuff out so things can breathe. And just it's sitting in the back of the mix as you see that I'm not panning anything. And then just some risers and effects, and just gain stage and stuff. Yeah, and I think this piano here, this channel here is just a waste of a print. So we can hide and make that inactive. Then we have the 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 vocoder or talk box. Well, sorry, not vocoder, but the electro spit that I'm using. It's not a talk box; it's an electro spit, and it goes on my neck, and I basically play stuff and it's mouth stuff. So now for EQ, I just kind of take out some mud that's there. Then we're pushing things up with the Neve here. I don't know where this really starts, but I know that it's a shelf. I don't know what areas of it is, but it just sounds great. And then I'm just boosting things at 4.8, just so everything's a little more prominent within the vocal. Then saturating. This is a great plugin, and I still use it. Saturating even, and then de-essing 3K around like the 3K region, because it's quite annoying there. Taking things out at 6, so it's all like all my just to tame it down because the mic is turned out quite a bit more than usual to use the talk box. Then do an effect compressor, 2.8 ratio, and tack really slow and the release really fast for the vocal. And then it's kind of just repeating itself again with the rest of the channels. And then we move into auxes, having a verb plate on there, and then compressing anything that's hitting the room, so the room has more control when it's going off with the vocal. Same with kind of like the delay, and then doing the same thing and side chaining things. And another. Oh, geez. I swear I had another plugin that was there. I think there was a plugin that was there, and I think it was another. It was a AMS like kind of like thing that would enhance the vocal. Um, No, never mind. It is a Korg, and I'm surprised I didn't do like the side chain thing there, but probably wasn't needed. Then we have the EMT 140, which is a plate reverb that's used on the keyboard. Um, then we have another little plate, which is probably used. Excuse me, which is probably used on the Serum plugin and more side chaining compression. Piano verb. So I think this plugin was on somewhere was on this here too to bring the vocal out, but who cares? um and again, just side chaining things so like it has more control on the effect. So every time, a signal comes in, it'll compress it. Um then we're doing some delays for the keyboards and melody, given the Galaxy delay. This thing is great. I love using it. Yeah. And that like about wraps it up really. I really do. I hope you like enjoy this track, and please give some support and pre-order it up on Beatport or pre-save on uh, Spotify and all that other stuff. And yeah, um, it's the second recording of the day, and yeah, I'll see you real soon, and I'll be doing another one of these. Bye bye.